Heavy metal musicians often seem larger than life. With their powerful voices, lightning-fast guitar solos, and earth-shaking drum beats, they feel untouchable, like modern-day gods of rock. But beneath the stage personas and the epic music, they are human beings. They face the same struggles and hardships as anyone else, including devastating illnesses that no amount of fame or talent can scare away. These are the stories of 20 heavy metal legends who fought incredible battles against diseases that ultimately silenced their music forever. 1. Ronnie James Dio. Anyone who loves heavy metal knows the name Ronnie James Dio. He was a true giant in a small package. With a voice that could shake mountains, he sang for legendary bands like Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and his own band, Dio. He is the man who gave us the famous devil horns hand gesture, a symbol now used by rock fans all over the globe. His songs were epic tales of good versus evil, dragons and rainbows in the dark. He was, to many, the voice of heavy metal itself. But here is the heartbreaking part. In late 2009, this titan of music was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Dio was a fighter, and he faced the illness with the same power he put into his music. He told his fans he would fight it and get back on stage. He went through difficult treatments and remained positive. For a little while, it seemed like he might just win. Sadly, the disease was too aggressive. In May 2010, the world lost this incredible voice. His legacy, truth be told, is a reminder that even the most powerful heroes can be vulnerable. Dio's fight was public and heroic, but our next legend was taken by an illness that acted with shocking speed, giving him almost no time to say goodbye. 2. Lemmy Kilmister. If you had to build a monument to the spirit of rock and roll, it would look and sound like Lemmy Kilmister. As the frontman for the band Motorhead, Lemmy was the definition of cool. With his gravelly voice, his wild mustache, and his bass guitar played like a roaring engine, he was an icon. For over 40 years, he lived life on his own terms, playing loud, fast, and heavy music that influenced countless bands. He seemed like he would live forever. Here is the unbelievable truth. Just 2 days after his 70th birthday celebration in December 2015, Lemmy found out he had an extremely aggressive form of cancer. The doctors told him he had between 2 and 6 months left. He went home, surrounded by his family and his favorite video game, and passed away just 2 days later. The world was stunned. It turned out the cancer was not his only problem. His official cause of passing also listed heart troubles. Lemmy lived fast, and his final chapter was just as shockingly fast. Lemmy's illness was hidden until the very end. But for our next musician, the battle was a long, painful, and very public struggle against a disease that attacked his very mind. 3. Chuck Schuldiner. In the world of extreme metal, Chuck Schuldiner was a genius. As the leader of the band Death, he was more than just a guitarist and singer. He was a pioneer. He basically invented a whole new style of music called death metal, but he didn't stop there. He pushed his music to become more complex, more thoughtful, and more melodic. He was a true artist who was always evolving, and fans were always excited to see what he would do next. Then, at the young age of 32, Chuck received some terrifying news. He was diagnosed with a rare type of brain cancer. The metal community was heartbroken, but rallied around him, holding concerts to raise money for his expensive medical treatments. Chuck fought with incredible bravery for over 2 years. There were moments of hope when it seemed like he was getting better, but the illness was relentless. In 2001, at just 34 years old, this musical visionary was gone. He left behind a legacy of brilliant music that changed metal forever. Chuck's illness attacked his brain, the source of his musical genius. The next story is about a drummer whose disease attacked his body, taking away the very thing he needed to play, his strength. Or Clive Burr. Iron Maiden is one of the biggest heavy metal bands of all time, known for their galloping rhythms and epic songs. In their early, explosive years, the man driving that powerful engine was a drummer named Clive Burr. He played on their first 3 albums, including the masterpiece, The Number of the Beast. His drumming was full of energy and style, and he was a huge part of what made the band so special in the beginning. But then Clive started having problems with his health. He would feel exhausted and have trouble with his coordination. He eventually had to leave Iron Maiden, and a few years later he got a devastating diagnosis: multiple sclerosis. This is a terrible disease that affects the nervous system, making it harder and harder for a person to control their own body. For a drummer whose art depends on the perfect control of all 4 limbs, it was a cruel fate. His former bandmates in Iron Maiden stepped up, creating a charity to help him and others with MS. Clive fought for many years, but the disease slowly took its toll, and he passed away in 2013. Clive's condition slowly robbed him of his physical abilities. Our next guitarist, in a strange twist of fate, had his life turned upside down by a single, tiny creature. 5. Jeff Hanneman. When you think of the band Slayer, you think of pure, aggressive, and lightning-fast thrash metal. A huge part of that iconic sound came from the mind and fingers of guitarist Jeff Hanneman. He wrote many of the band's most famous songs, like Raining Blood and Angel of Death. His guitar playing was chaotic and brilliant, and his style helped define an entire genre of music. Slayer was known as one of the big 4 of thrash metal, and Jeff was a primary reason why. The story of his decline is a strange and tragic one. In 2011, Jeff was bitten by a spider. It was a serious bite that led to a horrifying flesh-eating disease in his arm. He almost lost the arm entirely. He had to have major surgeries and learn how to walk again. He was never able to fully rejoin the band. While he was recovering from this, his body was dealing with another problem. His liver was failing, a condition related to his rock and roll lifestyle. The spider bite and the long recovery put too much stress on his already weakened body. In 2013, Jeff passed away from liver failure. It was a shocking end for a legend, all started by a tiny spider. A spider bite is a bizarre start to a tragic end. But sometimes the enemy is completely invisible, a silent problem hiding inside the heart, which is what happened to our next legend. 6. Peter Steele. Peter Steele was one of a kind. As the front man for the gothic metal band Type O Negative, he was a true giant, standing at an incredible 6 feet 8 inches tall. With his deep, vampire-like voice, his dark sense of humor, and his powerful bass playing, he created music that was heavy, romantic, and spooky all at the same time. The band was a massive success, and Peter was a beloved and unique figure in the metal world. Behind the scenes, Peter dealt with a lot of personal turmoil and emotional lows throughout his life, which he often channeled into his music. He seemed like an indestructible force of nature, so it was a total shock to the world when, in April 2010, news broke that he had passed away. He was only 48 years old. The cause was heart failure. Specifically, it was an aortic aneurysm, a sudden and catastrophic event inside his body. No one saw it coming. The metal world had lost one of its most distinctive and creative voices in the blink of an eye. A sudden heart problem is a terrifying thing. But for our next legend, the attack came not to his heart, but to his brain, striking down one of metal's most ferocious voices without warning. 7. Paul Bailoff. In the early 1980s, a new, aggressive style of metal was born in California's Bay Area. It was called thrash metal, and the voice that led the charge was Paul Bailoff. As the original singer for the band Exodus, Paul was pure, raw energy. He did not have a pretty voice. He had a wild, snarling scream that was perfect for the band's chaotic music. Their first album, Bonded by Blood, is considered one of the most important thrash metal albums ever made. Paul's insane stage presence and over-the-top personality made him a legend in the underground scene. Paul lived the metal lifestyle to the fullest. He left Exodus for a time, but eventually rejoined the band in the late 90s to the delight of old-school fans. He was back where he belonged, screaming his head off for a new generation. But in 2002, the story took a tragic turn. After a bike ride, Paul suffered a massive stroke and fell into a coma. He was only 41 years old. 2 days later, his family made the difficult decision to take him off life support. A voice that defined an entire movement was silenced in an instant by a sudden, brutal health crisis. A stroke is a shocking and sudden end. The next musician was another pioneer in a different style of metal, whose passing from a heart condition was just as sudden and unexpected. 8. Sean Reinert. Some musicians play music, and others completely change the way it is played. Sean Reinert was one of the changers. As the drummer for the bands Cynic and Death, he was a true technical wizard. In the early 90s, he helped create a new style of music that blended the brutality of death metal with the complex rhythms and musical ideas of jazz fusion. It was called progressive death metal, and Sean's drumming was the engine. He could play with incredible speed and power, but also with a light, technical touch that few metal drummers had. He was a highly respected musician who continued to push boundaries with his band, Cynic. He was known for being a very private and thoughtful person. Because of this, the news in January 2020 came as a complete shock to the music world. Sean had been found at his home, having passed away at the age of 48. It was later revealed that the cause was heart failure. There was no long public battle. It was a silent and sudden event that no one saw coming. The world of progressive metal lost one of its most important and innovative drummers without any warning at all. A quiet, sudden passing is deeply tragic. For the next drummer on our list, the battle was very public, a long and courageous fight against one of the deadliest forms of cancer. 9. Frankie Banali. In the 1980s, glam metal ruled the world, and the beat behind one of the era's biggest bands was Frankie Banali. As the drummer for Quiet Riot, he powered the band that broke heavy metal into the mainstream. Their album Metal Health was the first heavy metal album to ever hit #1 on the Billboard charts. Frankie was a powerful, driving drummer with a signature style, and he was the steady force that kept the band going through all its ups and downs for decades. In 2019, Frankie shared some devastating news with the world. He had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors had told him he only had 6 months to live. But Frankie was a fighter. He refused to give up, and he decided to go public with his battle, documenting his treatments and sharing his journey with his fans. He outlived the doctor's initial prediction by more than a year, showing incredible strength and courage. He continued to play music for as long as he could, but the disease was relentless. In August 2020, Frankie passed away at age 68, leaving behind a legacy as a true metal survivor who fought until the very end. Frankie's fight was a brave, public battle. The next guitarist on our list had an ending that was shockingly public in a different way, a tragedy that happened in the one place he felt most alive. 10. Alexi Laiho. For a new generation of metalheads in the late 90s and 2000s, Alexi Laiho was a guitar god. As the leader of the Finnish band Children of Bodom, he blended speedy melodic death metal with powerful keyboard sounds. His guitar playing was breathtakingly fast and technical, but also full of melody. He was a true virtuoso, and his band became one of the most popular metal acts to come out of Finland, touring all over the world. But the rock and roll lifestyle can take a heavy toll on the body. For years, Alexi had been dealing with various health problems that he mostly kept to himself. In late December 2020, at the shockingly young age of 41, he passed away in his home. His official cause of passing was listed as liver and pancreas damage, a result of his long-term health struggles. The news was a complete shock to his fans, who saw him as a young, vibrant hero of modern metal. It was a tragic end for a musician who still had so much more music to give. Alexei's passing was a shock because of his young age. Our next story is about another metal icon, a drummer from a legendary family who was also taken by an unseen problem with his heart. 11. Vinnie Paul. Vinnie Paul was a metal legend twice over. First, as the powerhouse drummer for the band Pantera, he and his brother, guitarist Dimebag Darrell, created a new kind of heavy metal. It was groovy, powerful, and incredibly heavy. Vinnie's drumming was like a punch to the chest. After Pantera, he went on to form the successful band Hell Yeah, continuing to bring his thunderous beats to fans around the world. He was known for his big smile and his friendly, welcoming personality. Vinnie had to endure an unspeakable tragedy in his life when he witnessed the loss of his brother. He carried that heavy heart for the rest of his days, but he continued to make music for the fans. Then, in June 2018, the metal world received another devastating blow. Vinnie Paul had passed away in his sleep at the age of 54. The reason was a major heart condition. Specifically, he had a severely enlarged heart and coronary artery disease. It was a silent killer that no one knew was so serious. He had given his heart and soul to heavy metal, and in the end, his heart simply could not go on. Another legend lost to a silent heart condition is heartbreaking. The next guitarist's heart gave out in the most dramatic way possible in front of a live audience. 12. Mike Scaccia. Mike Scaccia was a guitar hero for the Fast and Furious. He was a founding member of the Texas thrash band Rigor Mortis, known for their blistering speed and aggression. But he became world famous when he joined the Industrial Metal Pioneers Ministry. With Ministry, his lightning-fast, precise, and heavy guitar riffs became a key part of their sound on classic albums like Psalm 69. He was a true riff machine, a guitarist's guitarist who was respected by musicians across the metal world for his incredible skill. Mike lived for playing live music. It was his passion. In December 2012, he was on stage in Fort Worth, Texas, playing a show to celebrate the 50th birthday of Rigor Mortis's singer. He was in his element, shredding on his guitar for a crowd of friends and fans. Then, in a horrific moment, he suddenly collapsed on stage. The music stopped, and he was rushed to the hospital. Sadly, he could not be revived. He had suffered a sudden and massive heart attack right there on stage. At just 47 years old, Mike Scaccia passed away doing what he loved most. Passing away on stage is a shocking end. The next musician had a voice that was anything but shocking. It was beautiful and soaring, but his heart failed him just as suddenly. 13. Andre Matos. In the world of power metal, singers are often judged by their ability to hit incredible high notes and sing with epic, soaring melodies. By that standard, Andre Matos was a king. The Brazilian singer was a founding member of three hugely important bands: Viper, Angra, and Shaman. His voice was almost angelic, with a classical-sounding quality that brought a sense of grace and beauty to heavy metal. He was a hero in his home country of Brazil and a beloved figure for power metal fans around the globe. Andre was known for his amazing talent, not just as a singer, but also as a keyboardist and composer. He was a complete musician who seemed to have a bright future still ahead of him. That is why the news in June 2019 was so unbelievable. A statement from his former bandmates announced that Andre had passed away. He was only 47 years old. The cause was a sudden heart attack. There had been no warning signs, no public illness. One of the most beautiful and powerful voices in metal was just gone, leaving fans and fellow musicians in a state of profound shock and sadness. Andre's voice was a beacon for power metal. Our next musician was a pioneer of a much darker style, a mysterious figure whose heart also failed him far too soon. 14. Quorthon. In the cold, dark lands of Scandinavia, a new, extreme form of heavy metal was born in the 1980s. And the person many credit with creating it was a mysterious Swedish musician known as Quorthon. He was the mastermind behind the band Bathory. At first, his music was fast, raw, and chaotic, laying the groundwork for what would become black metal. Later, he changed his, creating slower, epic songs about Vikings and mythology, which became the blueprint for Viking metal. He was a true innovator who worked in secret. Quorthon, whose real name was Thomas Forsberg, was a very private person. He rarely did interviews or played live shows. He let his powerful music speak for itself. Because he was so reclusive, it was a massive shock when the news came out in June 2004 that he had been found in his apartment, having passed away. He was only 38 years old. The cause was heart failure. It was later revealed that he had been dealing with heart problems for some time. A true musical genius was gone far too soon. A private genius passing away alone is a somber story. The next frontman on our list passed away in a faraway country after a similar, sudden heart event. 15. Warrel Dane. Warrel Dane had one of the most unique and powerful voices in all of metal. He was first known as the singer for the band Sanctuary, and then he became world famous as the frontman for the progressive metal band Nevermore. His voice could go from a deep, menacing growl to a high, soaring scream in an instant. He wrote intelligent, often dark lyrics about society and personal struggles. He was a true poet of heavy metal. In December 2017, Warrel was in Brazil, working on a new solo album. He had been living there and was excited about the new music he was creating. But one night, while at his apartment, he suffered a massive heart attack. His bandmates tried to help him, but by the time medical help arrived, it was too late. He was only 56 years old. It was later revealed that he had a history of health issues, including diabetes, that may have contributed to his heart problems. A singular, unmistakable voice was suddenly gone. Warrel's passing was sudden and far from home. Our next musician also passed away from a heart attack, but it happened right after he had given his fans one last epic performance. 16. Mark Shelton. For fans of true, epic heavy metal, the band Manila Road was a treasure. And the heart, soul, and blazing guitar of that band was Mark Shelton. For 40 years, Mark, who was nicknamed The Shark, led his band through thick and thin. They wrote sweeping songs about fantasy, mythology, and history. Mark had a unique vocal style and a wild, shredding guitar technique. They were never a huge mainstream band, but they had a fiercely loyal cult following all over the world. In July 2018, Manila Road was playing at a big festival in Germany. They finished their set and the fans went wild. It was a triumphant moment. But just hours later, Mark collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital but sadly passed away. He was 60 years old. The cause was a heart attack, likely brought on by the intense heat and the physical energy of the performance. He had literally given his all on stage for his fans one last time. It was a warrior's end for a true hero of epic metal. Giving your all on stage is the dream of every musician. The next singer was also known for his incredible energy, but he was taken by a form of cancer that is both rare and vicious. 17. L.G. Petrov. When you hear the term Swedish death metal, one of the first voices that should come to mind is that of L.G. Petrov. As the singer for the legendary band Entombed, he helped create a signature sound. It was built around a raw, chainsaw-like guitar tone and LG's own ferocious, guttural roar. He was a force of nature on stage, a head-banging machine with an infectious energy. He was a beloved figure in the extreme metal scene, always seen with a smile on his face. In the summer of 2020, LG shared some terrible news with his fans. He had been diagnosed with bile duct cancer and it was incurable. He explained that the doctors could not remove it, but they could try to control it with treatment. The metal community was devastated and rallied to support him. LG remained positive and vowed to fight. But the disease was incredibly aggressive. Just 7 months later, in March 2021, this legendary voice of death metal passed away at the age of 49. A rare cancer is a terrifying opponent. The next musician, a powerhouse drummer for a legendary death metal band, was also taken suddenly by a hidden heart condition. 18. Martin "Kitty" Kearns. The British band Bolt Thrower was a war machine. For nearly 30 years, they created a unique style of death metal that was less about speed and more about unstoppable, crushing rhythm. Their songs sounded like giant tanks rolling over a battlefield. And for a huge part of their career, the man driving that tank was drummer Martin "Kitty" Kearns. He joined the band when he was just a teenager and became the powerful, precise, and relentless engine behind their iconic sound. In September 2015, the band had just finished the first part of a tour in Australia. Martin, who was just 38 years old, suddenly felt unwell. He went to sleep that night and never woke up. He passed away peacefully in his sleep. The band and the entire metal community were in total shock. It was later determined that he had a previously unknown heart condition. There were no warnings. One day he was playing a powerful set for his fans, and the next he was gone. The surviving members of Bolt Thrower decided they could not continue without him and respectfully disbanded, a testament to how vital he was. Losing a bandmate so suddenly is a profound tragedy. The next drummer was a modern icon whose health battle was with a cruel neurological disease that tried to take away his ability to play. 19. Joey Jordison. For a whole generation of kids in the late 90s and 2000s, Slipknot was the biggest metal band on the planet. Behind the masks and the chaotic energy was a truly breathtaking musician, drummer Joey Jordison. Sitting behind a massive, spinning drum kit, Joey played with a speed and precision that was simply inhuman. He was a founding member and a key songwriter for the band, and his incredible drumming helped make them superstars. Fans were confused and heartbroken when it was announced in 2013 that Joey was no longer in the band. For years, rumors flew. Then Joey bravely revealed the truth. He was suffering from a neurological disease called transverse myelitis. The illness affected his spinal cord and had taken away the use of his legs, making it impossible for him to drum. He fought back with intense therapy and was eventually able to play again with other bands, but the damage from the disease had taken a serious toll. In July 2021, Joey passed away in his sleep at the age of 46. A true drumming icon was taken by a cruel illness that attacked the very tools of his trade. A disease that takes away a musician's ability to play is a terrible fate. Our final guitarist also saw his career threatened by his health before a sudden heart event brought his story to a tragic close. 20. Ralph Santola. Ralph Santola was a guitar master for hire, a shredding virtuoso who lent his incredible talents to some of death metal's most legendary bands. He played with Deicide, Obituary, and Death, among many others. He was known for his melodic, fluid, and incredibly fast guitar solos, which often stood out as moments of beauty amongst the brutal music of the bands he was in. He was a sought-after talent, a true professional with a unique and recognizable style. In the years before his passing, Ralph had been dealing with some health issues that sometimes made it difficult for him to tour. Then, in late May 2018, he suffered a massive heart attack. He fell into a coma, and although doctors did everything they could, it became clear that he would not recover. His family made the heartbreaking choice to remove him from life support a week later. At age 48, Another brilliant musician was lost to a sudden, catastrophic health event. His soaring guitar solos, however, will live on forever in the classic albums he helped create.